back to the presentation, we're going to focus on process improvement and control with our cabinet safe document management. But before we jump into the demonstration, we'll briefly touch on why we're talking about this. And the reason we do this is because we want to help you solve problems associated with managing your employee records and your processes. A lot of problems that can be solved with this system. We obviously are going to focus on improving efficiency so that you spend less time shuffling paper and more time working with people. That's really the key. But there are other benefits as well: compliance, disaster recovery, audit, etc. Lots of benefits from a solution like this. So this is intended as an introduction. Every HR department has their own unique challenges and requirements, and only by working with you individually can we kind of come up with your specific requirements and work together on the solution. So what you see today may be somewhat generic. Hopefully you'll all take something away that might be something that could help you, whether you're an existing customer of ours or thinking about putting some type of system in place. So where we're going to focus first, we've got kind of 4 key categories. We're going to talk about structure, the structure of your employee files. And I'm going to switch over to our product and show you a few things about the Cabinet Safe software. The first thing having to do with our structure is that it is a very structured solution. You have repositories. In this case, I'm going to go to my Human Resources Department repository, and within repositories you have cabinets. You can have as many cabinets as you want. This is a typical scenario where I might have an active employees cabinet, an inactive employees cabinet for archived records, and then you could also have things like HR policies or other cabinets where you wanted to keep your documents. Within cabinets you have folders. You can see here a list of folders. These are my employees in this cabinet. And each folder can have associated, we refer to them as folder indexes, but this is the employee demographic data. You can have a lot of information here. This is configurable. This is an example where there's a lot of detail and a lot of data. This data can come from an external database where you already have this information, like in an HRIS, or it can be imported through a spreadsheet, or it could be keyed in if you wanted to. But to show you an example of a different type of structure, maybe a little bit simpler structure, here's another cabinet where there's a little less information that's shown here. So it just depends on your requirements and what you want to have in the system. So we're going to switch back to this Human Resources Department cabinet, Active Employees cabinet. So we have repository, cabinets, folders. When you get to a folder, you open the folder, you're going to see the employee documents, and these documents are associated with categories. These categories are your document categories. We refer to them sometimes as tabs, matching up with a tab you may have in a physical paper file. And then as you look through the documents, you can see the document title. You can see a preview of the document on the right as you scroll through and look. So that's the structure. Cabinets contain folders, folders contain documents, and the documents are associated with categories. One advantage of this type of a structure, if, for example, you have an employee that leaves for whatever reason, but you still need to keep those records, it's a very easy drag and drop from active over to inactive. I'm just going to move that folder. It comes out of that active employees cabinet, and now it's in the inactive employees cabinet. So very easy to archive former employee records. The other advantage of this structure is search. From time to time, you're going to need to look up a document. With this system, there's multiple ways to find a document. Obviously, you can do the structural search, which I showed you, where you go to a folder, open the folder, go to the category, go to the document. But you've also got some powerful capabilities in terms of keyword, metadata searches, and even full text. And we'll do a quick example of a search that you may conduct occasionally. I'm going to tell the system I want to search in my Human Resources Department repository, and I've got a saved search. I want to find all my change notices going back 180 days. So I'm going to run that query, and it's going to show me a list of documents that meet that search criteria. Once I've found those documents, I can do lots of things with them. export them, email them, whatever I need to do with those documents. So the system is very searchable as opposed to a traditional paper-based filing system. So I'm going to switch back over to our next point here, and we're going to talk about control. This is something that's very important to the human resources leaders, is being able to control the structure, being able to control the documents, and then eventually we're going to get to process. We're still going to talk about some ways that we can help you with the control aspects. The first thing to talk about are the folder indexes that I referred to a minute ago. If you notice here, we've got a lot of information about the employees. Some of this information may be protected by HIPAA. It may be confidential. You may not want everybody on the HR team to have access to all of the information. You've got the ability to hide folder index data. This is a new feature for those of you who are existing customers of ours. This is something with our version 10.4. You can see that I've got a couple of fields here, like especially social, that's hidden. So you can control who can see which of these fields in the system. I've also got the capability to make these fields read-only if you want to make them uneditable by certain users. So you can control this data, and you can control who sees the information. Very important. The next thing to talk about is the way documents go into the system, controlling the way you file and the way you name documents. Every company we work with has existing paper records, so we're going to start there and talk a little bit about a couple of ways to efficiently scan documents in. This is typically something that people are concerned about. How am I going to get all my documents scanned in efficiently? Built into SAFE is a program we have called Batch, and I've already gone ahead and scanned in a few pages of an employee file. And you can see that I'm in this filing mode where I've got a couple of options. I can file each document separately, or one way a lot of our customers do this is they just go ahead and file the entire historical record as a merged employee record. So everything it'll take all these separate documents you scanned in, merge them together into one PDF, and put it into that employee's folder. So you don't have to split out each individual document. If you do want to separate the documents, you can just pick the pages you want to file together. I'm going to tell the system what folder to put these into, and I'm going to select what the document is. In this case, it's an I-9, and I file it. It takes those 3 pages, creates a PDF, gives it the file name based on my naming convention. It OCRs it so it's searchable, and then it files that document. And I go to my next document, which is a driver's license. It's going into the same folder, and I can file it. So the key part of control is having these naming templates that you use to define how you want people to index and name documents as they go in, and making it easy as a couple of clicks to file those documents in after they're scanned. So that's one key to the control. Another key is you can also create documents. So after you've scanned historical records in and even some active files, you've also got the ability to create documents electronically. So if I open a folder and I want to create a document, I can click on a tab or a category, click New, and you can have electronic document templates that you can create. And that's just a matter of, again, picking a template. What do I want to create? And it will create that document. A very powerful feature of our system is the ability to create document sets. And I'm going to illustrate that by creating a new employee record. Sometimes you have a certain set of documents, and I say sometimes, in every case we've come across, you have a certain set of documents that need to be created with the onboarding process. So let's create a new file. Gene, we're going to make this you. So I'm going to we're going to hire Gene Fleming, my trusty sidekick on this webcast. And we're going to go ahead and, after I show off my typing skills, create that folder. And now we've got a new record. And if you notice, it already contains 2 documents. That's because we have a document set for onboarding. Now, this is a real simple example where we just created a couple of documents. Those documents are automatically created in the file. We automatically populate PDF form fields, and can even go to the extent of automatically routing a document. So you can see this document has been put into workflow automatically upon creation. So just by creating that record, whether that record is created electronically or if it's created manually, these documents are automatically created, the fields are populated, and they can be sent to workflow. And if you have a situation where, let's say, things don't work out with Gene, I can also create document sets after the folder's created and just pick that document set, and you can have those sets of documents created as well. And again, also routed into workflow. So if you're an existing customer and you're not using document sets, we can surely help you figure out how that can be something that you can take advantage of. But with all of our new customers in human resources, this is a feature that we're always implementing. So those are a few ways that you can have some control over how documents are put into the system, how they're named, when they're created, and how they might even be routed into workflow, which brings us to our next point, which is we're going to talk about process. Your approval workflows that are associated with every employee record that you maintain. So let's hop back over into SAFe. And you can see here that these documents that we created as part of document sets were automatically sent to workflow. I can see that from this icon. I can right-click and trace, and I can see what time it was sent, who sent it, who it was sent to, and the status. In this case, I can see that document's new. That means John has not looked at that document yet. So there's all this workflow information is associated with that document. Here's an important point. Even though this document is in workflow, it's in process, John has it in his inbox, other people may need to see that document and get information from that document. It's still available. People can still see it. Nobody can edit this document because it's in John's workflow, but it's still available. People can still see it. That's a huge advantage of an electronic document management system. Another thing I can do associated with, before I go in and show you the workflow, is I can also schedule an item. So let's say a document needs to be renewed or reviewed. I can add a schedule to any document or folder in the system. I right-clicked on that item, I pick schedule, I can pick a date, I can put in a note, whatever that needs to be. I could even assign this to someone else on the team. And when I click Save, it's going to automatically put that item in my Outlook calendar. It integrates automatically with Outlook. And it's going to show up on my dashboard. There's a tab up here that's called the dashboard where things like, workflow items and your bookmarks are stored. But the main purpose of this is to see your scheduled items. So I can see here is the scheduled item that I had scheduled for the 16th. On the 16th or whenever that rolls around, I can just click here and go right to that item. You can also see that it shows past due items in red, and it shows what's this week and then what's coming down the road in the future. So that's scheduling. Let's take a look now what happens once this document is routed to workflow. What does that look like? So I'm going to go into my workflow inbox, and here's the document, a couple of documents actually, that need to be processed for this employee. So you can see the form has already been filled in. If part of my role is to fill in additional fields, I would just click Edit, and I can fill in additional fields on this form. When I'm done, I can either route it to another person, or we could have a rule set up that says it always needs to follow this process. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and file it back to the cabinet and click Approve. And we're going to go ahead and do that on this record as well. So those items come out of your inbox, and you see you have remaining items that need to be worked on. So that's what the workflow interface looks like. It's a way to approve, reject, add notes to documents, and we'll show you what the end result is. For example, on this document, if I right-click and trace again, I can see the history, what's happened to that document. John approved it on this date at this time, and that approved record is associated with that document. That's a simple example of what our workflow can do. Important point is that we can set up rules that follow your existing processes, and those rules can go from person to person or even to groups for processing those documents. The final thing on the process end of things, let me go ahead and close this screen, is back to the search. Being able to go in and tell what's been done over a certain period of time. So again, I'm going to click that Save Search, and I'm going to run that again. If you need to go back and see how many of these types of how many change notice forms, for example, have been filed in a certain period of time, or anything associated with any documents or folders that have been created, the audit trail is available. You can quickly search for and find those documents in the system. The last point, again, limited by time, we're covering just 4 key areas that we see working with human resources departments. The last area is mobile access. So it's no longer good enough for you to be able to only get to your electronic documents from your computer at work. Things are changing in the workplace. Things happen. You need to access records sometimes 24/7, unfortunately. So a part of our system includes our mobile applications. We have a web interface. We have Windows 10, iOS, Apple, and Android interfaces. And I'm going to give you a quick look at what our iOS interface looks like. I'm an iPhone user, so I'm going to quickly switch over to my iPhone. And bring that up on screen. So this is what it would look like if I log into my HR cabinet via my iPhone. You can see I'm in a repository. If I have multiple repositories, I can access those. And I've got cabinets. This is a different repository than what we were showing earlier. As you can see, I can open a cabinet. I've got my folders. If I want to see the information about a folder, I can click on the left there. I can look at the folder indexes, various information. I can route it to workflow all from here on my iPhone. If I want to open that folder, I just tap on the middle. It shows me the list of documents. Select a document, and it's going to show you that document on screen. So very intuitive interface. Again, workflow is available. I can pick a document. I can route it. I can either pick a rule or pick a user. And it's as simple as going through and finding who you want to send that document to and sending it to them. So that's a quick look at the iPhone interface. And again, whether you're using iPhones or Windows phones or Android devices in your HR department, everybody on your team, whoever you want to have access, can have access through these apps. These are free apps. We have a iPad-specific app that's $9.99, but these 3 Windows IS, iOS, and Android apps will essentially do what that does, and you can get them from the associated stores. If you're a customer, if you have Safe installed, if you have Safe in our cloud, either way, these applications are available to you. So at the beginning of the call, I neglected to remind you that you can enter questions into the questions panel. So I'll stall for just a minute and let you go ahead and type in questions.